Watershed management. This is the most important topic to teach or to read, and this is the most neglected topic, if I say, you can find in agronomy, right? So, students, welcome back to my channel. And today we are going to cover watershed management. What is the watershed development program? What are the approaches of watershed management? How we delineate watershed? What are the components of watershed? And what are the most important questions can be asked in different exams from watershed management? If you are new to this channel, we are uploading different conceptual lectures, different mock tests, different quizzes for different agri competitive examination in our channel, in this channel. You can subscribe to our channel for regular updates. You can press that bell icon which you are finding there. So you just subscribe the channel and you just press the bell icon to get our updated lectures time to time. And you can join our Telegram channel, agriculture Q&A, that is mentioned here. You can join that Telegram channel to ask your doubts, to get notification about the lectures I am uploading, and to have different quizzes time to time. So let's start with watershed management. Let's understand first what is a watershed. What is a watershed, right? So watershed, आज मैं जैसे बता रहा था आप लोगों को, वाटरशेड का जो कंपोनेंट्स है, एक क्या है, एक है कैचमेंट एरिया, राइट, एक है कैचमेंट एरिया. कैचमेंट एरिया क्या होता है? जहाँ पे हम वाटर कैच करते हैं, आई मीन where we collect the water, the land from where we collect the water, that is known as catchment area, right? Suppose ये एक watershed है, ये एक pictorial view of watershed है. Suppose ये जो एरिया आप देख रहे हैं, ये कहीं पे हायर ऑल्टीट्यूड में है, लाइक पहाड़ी एरिया या फिर कहीं पे भी है, जहाँ से ड्रेन आउट होके ये जो वाटर है ये कॉमन पॉइंट में आ रहा है, राइट? एक रिवर होके आ रहा है या फिर एक लेक, आई मीन एक रिवर होके आ रहा है, राइट? तो एक स्ट्रीम होके आ रहा है. तो ये जो एरिया है, ये आप जो एरिया देख रहे हो, इसको बोलते हैं हम कैचमेंट एरिया, क्योंकि यहाँ पे हम रेन वाटर जो है कैच कर रहे हैं. ये एक रिवर है, यहाँ पे एक बेसिन है, जहाँ पे कॉमन आउटलेट होके जहाँ पे वाटर स्टोर होता है वहाँ पे एक बेसिन होता है, राइट? देन अनदर थिंग इज फ्रॉम हियर द टेल एंड, दैट इज कॉल्ड कमांड एरिया, वेयर वी कमांड दैट वाटर. आई मीन कहाँ पे हम वाटर को स्प्रेड कर रहे हैं, कहाँ पे कहाँ तक हम वाटर को ले जा रहे हैं, मतलब कौन सी बेनिफिशियरी एरिया है जहाँ पे वाटर वो लोग यूज कर पा रहे हैं वहाँ वहाँ उस कैचमेंट से, राइट? तो उसको बोलते हैं कमांड एरिया. सो दीज आर द कंपोनेंट्स ऑफ वाटरशेड, राइट? वन इज कैचमेंट एरिया वेयर वी कलेक्ट द वाटर, अनदर इज बेसिन एरिया वेयर वी स्टोर द वाटर. whatever water we collect, that is we are storing in that basin area, and where we command that water, that is known as command area, right? So definition देख लेते हैं watershed का. A watershed is an area of land that captures rainfall and other precipitation and funnels it to a lake or stream or wetland, right? So क्या क्या बोल रहा है यहाँ पे कि watershed is an area or land that captures rainfall, जैसे मैं बताया यहाँ पे rainfall capture कर रहा है, or any other form of precipitation, whether it may be rainfall, whether it may be snowfall. If we go to northern India or maybe a higher altitude, there is snowfall, right? So if there is dew, or it may contribute to the total precipitation. So from any precipitation source, if we are collecting that water, we are funneling that water, means that water we are channeling to a common outlet, right? Or maybe stream, or maybe a wetland, that is known as watershed. That particular area is known as a watershed. Another definition, a watershed is an area of land such as mountain or valley which collect rainwater into a common outlet. So मेजर जो यहाँ पे कोइंसिडेंस है कि हम लोग वाटर कहीं से कलेक्ट कर रहे हैं और एक चैनल के थ्रू या फिर कॉमन आउटलेट के थ्रू उस वाटर को हम रिलीज कर रहे हैं, राइट? That is known as watershed. So all of us, we are living in a watershed, whether we are living in a catchment area, whether we are living in a command area. Because from when we call that we are in a catchment area, whenever our water is draining towards a catchment area or towards a basin, then we are living in a catchment area. If we are using the catchment area water, or we are in a tail end, then we are in a command area, right? So let's talk about the components of watershed.
व्हाट आर द कंपोनेंट्स ऑफ वाटरशेड। एक वाटरशेड जहाँ पे होता है वहाँ पे क्या क्या कंपोनेंट होता है। कंपोनेंट यानी वहाँ पे लैंड एक कंपोनेंट है, यानी रिसोर्सेस, व्हाट आर द रिसोर्सेस अवेलेबल इन वाटरशेड। और वाटरशेड का कंपोनेंट क्या क्या है। सपोज बायोटिक कंपोनेंट हो गया। बायोटिक कंपोनेंट्स मीन्स बायोटिक कंपोनेंट में बायोमास आ गया, जैसे ह्यूमन हो गया, प्लांट हो गया, एनिमल्स हो गया, जो भी वहाँ पे वाटरशेड के ऊपर डिपेंडेंट रहते हैं, राइट, उनको बोलते हैं बायोटिक कंपोनेंट। देन अबायोटिक कंपोनेंट में आ गया लैंड। लैंड का स्लोप, टेरेन, सॉइल डेप्थ, सॉइल टेक्सचर, structure, water holding capacity, infiltration rate, these are also affecting the, like, these are also affecting that watershed, right? Then water is a component, major component, water inflow, use and outflow. How much water we are collecting, how much rainfall in that watershed. Then use, हमारा यूज बेस कैसा है वाटर का। देन आउटफ्लो, वहां से कितना वाटर आउटफ्लो हो रहा है, दैट इज ए बैलेंस कैन वी कैन गेट। देन बायोमास, ह्यूमन हैबिटेशन है वाटरशेड में, प्लांट्स बहुत सारे हैं एंड एनिमल्स भी बहुत सारे डिपेंडेंट रहते हैं। देन एग्रो क्लाइमेट ऑफ दैट एरिया, उस एरिया का एग्रो क्लाइमेट कैसा है, वो एक एरिड जोन में आता है या फिर ह्यूमिड जोन में आता है, वहाँ पे रेनफॉल बहुत ज़्यादा होता है या कम होता है। देन अदर्स लाइक गवर्नमेंट स्कीम्स, वहाँ पे वाटरशेड का गवर्नमेंट स्कीम, या वहाँ पे बेसिन अवेलेबल है कि नहीं, वहाँ पे कैनल अवेलेबल है कि नहीं, ये सारे चीज़ डिपेंड करता है। देन पॉलिटिकल इन्फ्लुएंसेस एक्सेट्रा, दीज आर other components of watershed. So next thing is classification of watershed on the basis of size of watershed को लेके कुछ classification है based on size of watershed. Watersheds are classified as mini watershed if that area, particular watershed area lies in the range of 1 to 100 hectare, then that is known as mini watershed. If it is lies between 100 to 1000 hectare, then that is known as micro watershed. If the area lies between 1000 to 10,000 hectare, that is called milli watershed. If it is between 10,000 to 50,000 hectare, then that is called sub watershed. If it is 50,000 to 2 lakh hectare, then that is called full watershed. If it is 2 to 10 lakh hectare, then it is called sub catchment. If it is 10 to 30 lakh hectare, it is called catchment. If it is more than 50 lakh hectare, then that is called basin. So watershed are classified like this on the basis of size. So this is very important for your exam point of view. सपोज एग्जाम पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से क्या क्या इंपॉर्टेंट है। एक तो हो गया वाटरशेड का जो रीजन में बताया कि कंपोनेंट, जैसे कि कैचमेंट एरिया, कमांड एरिया और बेसिन क्या क्या होता है। देन ये एक बेस्ड ऑन साइज वाटरशेड का क्लासिफिकेशन, ये एक क्वेश्चन पूछा जाता है एग्जाम में। नेक्स्ट थिंग इज व्हाई वाटरशेड इज मैटर्स, व्हाई वी शुड स्टडी वाटरशेड, बिकॉज we all live in a watershed। मैं जैसे बताया watershed matters because we all live in a watershed। हम लोग कहाँ पे रहते हैं, एक watershed में रहते हैं। आप खुद सोचिए कि आप कहाँ पे रहते हो, मतलब कहीं पे रेन हो रहा है, वो अल्टीमेटली कहीं पे जा रहा है, राइट। या फिर आप अगर टेल एंड में हो, या फिर आई मीन जैसे आप जैसे ईस्टर्न जोन में या फिर कोस्टल एरिया में हो, तो आप वाटरशेड का वाटर जो है वो आप रिसीव कर रहे हो, राइट। तो either we are in a catchment area or we are in command area, so we all live in a watershed, right? So watershed का क्या 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 बेनिफिट्स है, राइट। वाटरशेड का बेनिफिट्स क्या क्या है। इट रिचार्ज वाटर सप्लाई, राइट। वाटरशेड में क्या है, वाटर कलेक्ट होके वहाँ पे रिचार्ज होता है। वो भी डिपेंड करता है कि लैंड का टोपोग्राफी, अगर लैंड का टोपोग्राफी स्लोप ज़्यादा है तो फिर रिचार्ज, रेट ऑफ रिचार्ज कम हो जाएगा, राइट। अगर सॉइल का कंडीशन के ऊपर भी डिपेंड करता है, अगर सॉइल सैंडी होता है या फिर सैंडी टाइप का पोर्शन ज़्यादा रहता है तो फिर इनफिल्ट्रेट या फिर रिचार्ज बहुत फास्ट होगा। अगर क्ले टाइप का है या फिर प्लेटी सॉइल है, वहाँ पे रिचार्ज इतना जल्दी नहीं हो पाएगा। देन इट प्रोटेक्ट्स ओशन, राइट। वाटरशेड प्रोटेक्ट ओशन, इट मिटिगेट फ्लड। अगर हम एक चैनल पे उसको चैनलाइज कर रहे हैं वाटर को, और डिफरेंट चैनल या फिर कैनल के थ्रू वहाँ से फिर रिलीज कर रहे हैं, तो वो अल्टीमेटली फ्लड को प्रोटेक्ट कर रहा है, राइट। प्रोवाइड्स सुइटेबल हैबिटेट फॉर प्लांट्स एंड एनिमल्स। अगर हम वाटरशेड मैनेज कर पा रहे हैं अच्छे से, तो वहाँ पे जो एनिमल या फिर ह्यूमन हैबिटेशन है वो अच्छे से उनको वाटर मिल पा रहा है, या फिर उनका जो वाटर रिक्वायरमेंट है वो अच्छे से फुलफिल हो पा रहा है। अगर हम स्टोर करके उस वाटर को डिफरेंट ऑफ सीजन में उसको यूज़ कर रहे हैं, तो वहाँ पे ड्राउट का जो सिवियरिटी है उसको हम कम कर रहे हैं। सर्व एज रिक्रिएशनल एंड एजुकेशनल पर्पज ऑल्सो प्लेसेस। देन प्रोटेक्ट पब्लिक हेल्थ, support the economy, mitigate the effect of climate change, right? सपोज हम वाटर को स्टोर कर रहे हैं या फिर जब हम जैसे क्लाइमेट चेंज हो रहा है, राइट, डिफरेंट फ्लड प्रोन एरिया है, तब अगर हम वाटर को अच्छे से स्टोर करके अच्छे से डाइवर्ट कर पा रहे हैं, राइट, तो फिर हम फ्लड को भी कंट्रोल कर सकते हैं। फ्लड क्या होता है? अगर एक बेसिन टूट जाता है या फिर अगर एक साथ बहुत सारा रेनफॉल हो जाता है तो वहाँ पे फ्लड सिचुएशन अराइज होता है। अगर उस रेनफॉल को हम मैनेज कर सकते हैं थ्रू वाटर सेट, then we can prevent that flood, or we can prevent a drought even if there is uneven rainfall, right? So these are some of the objectives, or you can say some of the effects of watershed management. Now, what are the principles of watershed management? What are the principles of integrated watershed management? First one is provision of an adequate amount of drinking water. From if we manage the water set, then we can get drinking water around the throughout the years, right? Then maintain of quality of drinking water, right? Then participation of local community. Local community should be should we should involve local community in that water set, because without the help of local community we cannot get a satisfactory when whatever, if there is certain government initiatives, certain program policies we want to implement in a locality, then we must have the local support. Without that support, without their active participation, we cannot do it effectively. So participation of local community is a must. Then harmonizing economic development with environmental requirement, then increasing of productivity of resources use of in sustainable manner, stabilizing and protection of natural resources. So in a watershed, as we have already mentioned, there are different components of watershed like biotic and abiotic components. There is participation of local community. There are human animals. If we use them judiciously, if we use them intelligently, then we can achieve a lot. We can produce more. We can get a sustainable yield from that particular watershed. So these are the principles of watershed management. So the main objective of integrated watershed program. So what are the main objectives of integrated watershed program? To restore the ecological balance by harnessing, conserving, developing degraded natural resources such as soil, vegetative cover, and water. So we are using them judiciously. We are using them according to the land capability classification, according to its potential. We are using the soil, the land, the water, the habitat according to its potential to harness different component or resources, so that we can get more productivity, we can balance the ecology, we can improvise the standard of living of that components of that watershed. I mean animals and humans. The outcomes are prevention of soil runoff, regeneration of natural vegetation, rainwater harvesting, recharging of groundwater table. So these are certain objectives. This enables, if we recharge the groundwater, if we store a lot of water, we can do multiple cropping and introduce diverse agro-based activities which help to provide sustainable livelihood to the people residing in the watershed area. In addition, there is a scheme of technology development, extension and training. TDET is also being implemented to promote development of cost-effective proven technology to support watershed management. So these are certain objectives of watershed management. So how watershed evolved? Evolution of watershed. So as you know, if you have studied dryland agriculture, then rain-fed agriculture, that means dryland agriculture, it contributes 58% of world's food basket from 80% agricultural land. So there are a certain area which had where we cultivate the crop based on rainfall only. We do not have that much irrigation facility available in in those particular area. So those area comprises of around 80% land area, which contribute around 58% to the world food basket. If we say in India, there is 60% of 142 million hectare, what is 142 or 144 net cropped area we have. From that, 60% around arable land is rain-fed, that is under dry land. The rain-fed areas are the hotspot of poverty. In rain-fed area, what are the situations? Poverty arises there, malnutrition, because there is less productivity in those areas. Then malnutrition, also we can find food insecurity, prone to severe land degradation, water scarcity, poor social and institutional infrastructure. We can find in the dryland areas because the productivity is very less there. So, National Commission on Farmers recommended consortium approach to implement watershed with holistic livelihood approach and release of money from National Coordination Cell to the District Watershed Coordination Agency. So नेशनल कमीशन ऑन फार्मर्स क्या प्रपोज किए थे कि हम वाटर शेड को इम्प्रूवाइज करेंगे, डिफरेंट लोकेलिटी में वाटर शेड को हम इम्प्लीमेंट करेंगे, सो दैट क्या होगा कि हम ऑफ सीजन में जहाँ पे रेनफॉल नहीं हो रहा है, जहाँ पे जैसे ड्राउट सिचुएशन प्रिवेल हो रहा है, तो उस टाइम हम लोग को वाटर जो भी हम कलेक्ट करके रखते हैं उसको हम यूज़ कर सकते हैं जुडिशियसली, सो दैट दिस प्रॉब्लम्स वट एवर वी फाइंड इन ड्राईलैंड एरियाज वी कैन target them. The National Rainfed Area Authority was established in 2007 and new common guidelines for watershed development were released by Government of India at that time, right? Then history of watershed development programs. What is the history of watershed development programs? So let's see one by one. First initiative for efficient rainwater management by Famine Commission in 1880. 1880 में फेमाइन कमीशन लॉन्च हुआ था. उस टाइम एक सिवियर ड्राउट आया था, सिवियर फेमाइन आया था. सो एट दैट टाइम फेमाइन कमीशन लॉन्च हुआ था, right? So they took the first initiative for rainwater management. ICR established 8 soil conservation research center and demonstration and training center in 1954. ड्रॉट प्रोन एरिया प्रोग्राम कब लॉन्च हुआ था? 1972-73 में. CSWCRTI सेंट्रल सॉयल एंड वाटर कंजर्वेशन रिसर्च एंड ट्रेनिंग इंस्टीट्यूट, ये कब लॉन्च हुआ था? अप्रैल 1974 में. ये कहाँ पे है? देहरादून में, राइट? NWDPRA नेशनल वाटरशेड डेवलपमेंट प्रोजेक्ट, राइट? सो ये 8th 5-year प्लान में 1991 में रिलीज हुआ था, आई मीन लॉन्च हुआ था NWDPRA. सो ये एक वाटरशेड डेवलपमेंट प्रोग्राम है. द प्रोग्राम इवॉल्व एंड द प्रोजेक्ट डिजाइन फॉर यूजिंग वाटरशेड डेवलपमेंट अप्रोच वेयर ड्राउट प्रोन. ये और कुछ प्रोग्राम्स है जैसे ड्राउट प्रोन एरिया प्रोग्राम, देन डेजर्ट डेवलपमेंट प्रोग्राम DTP, रिवर वैली प्रोजेक्ट, National Watershed Development Project for Rainfed Area, NWDPRA we discussed, then Integrated Watershed Development Program. So ये कुछ programs है जो कि by Government of India ये initiative लिया गया था watershed को develop and enrich करने के लिए. And these are certain chronological events of watershed development programs and their guideline and their objective you can see here. Year, then program or policy guideline, major objective, relevant institutions. Right, 1973-74 DPAP drought prone area program by Ministry of Rural Development. 1977-78 desert development program by Ministry of Rural Development. 1989-90 integrated watershed development program. Then 1989 integrated afforestation and eco development scheme. 1991 national watershed development project for rainfed area. 92 Indo-German watershed development program. 94 guideline for watershed development. Then 99-2000 Watershed Development Fund, 2001 Common Guideline for Watershed Development, 2002 National Afforestation Program, 2003 Hariali Guideline, 2005 Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme, 2006 Parthasarathi Committee Report, 2006 NRAA, that is National Rainfed Area Authority, 2008 Common Guideline for Watershed Development, Niranchal release. Then 2009 Integrated Watershed Management Program, 2011 Revised Common Guideline for Watershed Development released, 2013 Revised Guideline to 2008 Common Guideline known as Niranchal Guideline. So these were certain development in watershed. So the development process is going on because government has realized that if we want to develop these drought prone areas, this flood prone areas, we need to have a like perfect watershed planning, because without watershed we cannot manage these areas effectively. We cannot store this whatever precipitation we are getting, we cannot store them, we cannot use them efficiently, right? So there is a need of watershed development in each district level, each locality, right? So implementation of watershed, if we see, in 1994 Ministry of Rural Development, Government of India produced set of guidelines for implementing watershed program. So implementation, what do you understand by implementation? If we are passing a program or policy in our Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, or if we are planning to do certain activity, so we want to implement that activity, right? So implementing an activity, we have to study that particular area, that particular locality, what is the need, how we can implement. Step by step implementation program has been done, right? So in 1994, what happened? Ministry of Rural Development, Government of India produced guideline for implementing watershed program. This progressive policy was essentially people centered. Why this is people centered? Because without taking the local support, you cannot implement effectively any program or policy. Because who are the ultimate beneficiary? Those local people. If they help in that particular program or policy, then that will be successful, right? So the policy was people centric, and it incorporated good practices from non-government organizations, government policies such as awareness raising, bottom-up planning, partnership with NGOs, community participation. So these are certain programs, these are certain linkages you have to do. Until 1st April 2008, department implemented 3 watershed program, that is integrated wasteland development program, drought prone area program, desert development program. Since then, they have been brought under a comprehensive program named Integrated Watershed Management Program, IWMP, to be implemented under Common Guideline Watershed 2008. So there are up to 2008 there were 3 watershed development program. One is Integrated Wasteland Development Program, another is Drought Prone Area Program, another is Desert Development Scheme or Program. Next, changes in watershed approach. What are the changes have been made in watershed approach? In the beginning, जब हम स्टार्ट किए थे वाटरशेड प्रोग्राम, उस टाइम क्या था? वाटरशेड प्रोग्राम वेंट थ्रू द स्ट्रक्चर ड्रिवन अप्रोच फॉर द सॉइल कंजर्वेशन, रेन वाटर हार्वेस्टिंग, एमिंग एट ओनली प्रोडक्टिविटी एनहांसमेंट. जब स्टार्ट हुआ था पहले वाटरशेड डेवलपमेंट, तब क्या हुआ था कि हम कैसे सॉइल कंजर्व कर सकते हैं, रेन वाटर हार्वेस्ट कर सकते हैं टू इम्प्रूव द प्रोडक्टिविटी. दैट वाज द प्राइम गोल. But this was a top-down contractual approach, led to less transparency and inequitable benefit among the community. So उस टाइम क्या हुआ, जब हमारा ये मेन प्रायोरिटी था कि हम कैसे सॉइल को कंजर्व करेंगे, कैसे वाटर को स्टोर करेंगे, कैसे वहाँ पे प्रोडक्टिविटी बढ़ाएंगे, इट वाज एन टॉप डाउन अप्रोच, राइट? सो वहाँ पे मेनली ट्रांसपेरेंसी लैकुना था. वहाँ पे क्या हो रहा था, कैसे डेवलप हो रहा था, कैसे मतलब फंड रिलीज हो गया, कैसे खत्म हो रहा था, वो कुछ पता नहीं चल रहा था. तो उसका अल्टीमेट बेनिफिट जो था टू द बेनिफिशियरीज, टू द लोकल पीपल, ये एफिशिएंटली नहीं हो पा रहा था. तो नाउ इट इज व्हाट एवर वाटरशेड प्रोजेक्ट वी आर इम्प्लीमेंटिंग, दैट दोज आर डिमांड ड्रिवन. व्हाट इज द नीड, हाउ वी आर एड्रेसिंग दैट इज डिमांड ड्रिवन, राइट? व्हाट इज द नीड ऑफ लोकल पीपल? If there is drought prevailing or there is flood, if there is we cannot manage that proper water properly, or we cannot store that water properly, or there is lack of vegetation, or there is socio-economic constraint, what is the problem, right? So that today's watershed, whatever we are implementing, that is project that is demand driven, right? Earlier it was productivity enhancement, now it is demand driven. So different guidelines were made for better efficient watershed, like these are the different guidelines, like the Hanumant Rao Committee Guideline 95 and 2001, guidelines for Haryali 2003, then Sahabhagita Guideline 2000. So then analytical framework for implementation of watershed. What are the analytical framework? How we should approach for watershed development in a particular area. The aspects of watershed development that call for a careful planning in advance, as suggested in the available literature, are following. Like, so first is identification and selection of watershed and village. So first we have to identify a particular locality. Identification and mobilization of the stakeholder. Okay, what are the stakeholder? Different NGOs, different program implementing agency. So identifying and mobilizing these stakeholders. Then resolution of outstanding disputes over the land and assets. Suppose we are planning to dog, or we are planning to make a channel. So we cannot just go and dig that channel or prepare that channel. We have to go for with the local people, so whose lands are falling in the way of the channel. So we have to give them some financial support from government side, and after that we can acquire their land to make our channel, right? So these disputes over the lands we have to first clear. Then ensuring participatory planning and implementation. Participatory planning means with the help of local people. So we have to ensure that participatory planning, we have to discuss, हमको डिस्कस करना पड़ेगा वहाँ पे लोकल पीपल जो है, लोकल अथॉरिटी जो है, लोकल यू नो जो हेड है वहाँ पे, राइट, उनके साथ डिस्कस करके ही प्लानिंग करना पड़ेगा. वर्किंग आउट कॉमन पूल रिसोर्स मैनेजमेंट एंड प्रोटेक्शन. बिल्डिंग ऑफ वाटरशेड फंड रेज करना पड़ेगा. प्लानिंग फॉर रीजनरेशन ऑफ वेजिटेशन, रिहेबिलिटेशन ऑफ पुअर पर्टिकुलर लैंडलेस हु आर नॉट बेनिफिटेड बाय द प्रोजेक्ट. हमारा मेन फोकस किसके ऊपर होना चाहिए? हमारा मेन फोकस वहाँ पे लोकल में जो सबसे रिच पर्सन है उनके ऊपर नहीं होना चाहिए. हमारा मेन फोकस है वहाँ पे जो डाउन लेवल पे है, जो ग्रास रूट लेवल पे है, जो लोग मतलब 2 टाइम खाने को नहीं पाते हैं, जो लोग जिनके पास लैंड नहीं है, उनको कैसे हम पहुँच सकते हैं. अगर उनको हम अपलिफ्ट करेंगे तो अल्टीमेटली हमारा सोसाइटी अपलिफ्ट होगा, राइट. Following through the exit strategy for the government, NGOs, donor agency, and leaving the project to managed by the stakeholder. Creation of institution for planning, implementation, and managing the project. So these are the certain basic things we have to think before implementing a watershed. Implementation options क्या क्या हो सकता है, किसके द्वारा हम implement कर सकते हैं watershed, एक watershed, राइट. कौन इम्प्लीमेंट कर सकते हैं और किसके द्वारा हम इम्प्लीमेंट कर सकते हैं. द इंडियन एक्सपीरियंस हैज दस थ्रोन ऑफ द फॉलोइंग इम्प्लीमेंटेशन ऑप्शन ऑफ वाटरशेड डेवलपमेंट प्रोग्राम थ्रू द लाइन डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया, राइट. गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया एक वाटरशेड इम्प्लीमेंट कर सकता है थ्रू नॉन गवर्नमेंट इनिशिएटिव्स विथ कम्युनिटी पार्टिसिपेशन एट डिफरेंट लेवल, लाइक थ्रू पंचायत, वाटरशेड डेवलपमेंट टीम्स एंड यूजर ग्रुप्स, थ्रू एनी अदर प्रोजेक्ट इम्प्लीमेंटेशन एजेंसी, देन अडॉप्टिंग कंसोर्शियम अप्रोच, राइट. सो कौन कौन इम्प्लीमेंट कर सकते हैं वाटरशेड, राइट. एक तो गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया खुद अपना प्रोजेक्ट जो भी टेंडर लगा के वो वाटरशेड इम्प्लीमेंट कर सकते हैं. देन थ्रू डिफरेंट NGOs आर देयर, उनके द्वारा भी हम फंड मोबिलाइज करके गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया वाटरशेड इम्प्लीमेंट कर सकता है. अनदर इज थ्रू पंचायत और डिफरेंट प्रोजेक्ट इम्प्लीमेंटिंग एजेंसीज आर देयर through by which government of India can implement the watershed in a locality. स्ट्रेंथ एंड वीकनेस ऑफ गवर्नमेंट एंड NGOs. सपोज हम लोग वाटर सेड इम्प्लीमेंट करना चाह रहे हैं थ्रू गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया, लाइक बाई गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया, एंड अनदर थिंग बाई NGOs, लोकल जो NGOs है, नॉन गवर्नमेंट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है, उनके थ्रू हम फंड मोबिलाइज करके वाटर सेड एक प्रिपेयर करना चाहते हैं. तो उनका स्ट्रेंथ एंड वीकनेस क्या है? NGO एंड गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया. NGO मतलब वहाँ पे स्ट्रॉन्ग इन सोशल मोबिलाइजेशन. NGO अगर लोकल गवर्नमेंट में, जो लोकल एरिया में नॉन गवर्नमेंट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है, उनका बॉन्डिंग लोकल पीपल के साथ ज़्यादा होगा देन गवर्नमेंट पॉलिसी मेकर्स और गवर्नमेंट जो भी गवर्नमेंट पीपल होते हैं, उनके साथ इतना बॉन्डिंग अच्छा नहीं होता है. लेकिन NGOs जो है वो वहाँ पे उस लोकेलिटी में सालों से काम कर रहे हैं, तो वहाँ पे उनका बॉन्डिंग बहुत अच्छा होगा. Then conceptually stronger with participatory approaches. NGOs are doing certain things like bottom up approach. They know what is the limitations in that area. They know what is the scope in that area. So they know it perfectly. So there is stronger with participatory approach by NGOs. Closer and more equal relationship with people, right? NGOs have more closer relationship than our government people. Flexible and adaptive to local situation. NGOs are can flexible the situation, right? But NGOs have limitations like weak in technical competence, non-availability of technical staff to open market, and poor quality with high turnover of technical staff due to poor salary and working condition, right? And temporary nature of employment. NGOs में जो अपॉइंटमेंट होता है वो टेक्निकल लाइक टेम्पररी होता है, राइट. और उनका सैलरी भी ज़्यादा नहीं रहता है, तो वहाँ पे काम करने का जो तरीका होगा वो थोड़ा सा डाउन होगा, राइट. मे बी इट इज़ नॉट परफेक्ट, बट मे बी देयर द वर्किंग स्टैंडर्ड विल बी लेस. देन गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया का देख लेते हैं. मतलब गवर्नमेंट इनिशिएटिव अगर होगा तो क्या होगा वहाँ पे? स्ट्रॉन्ग इन टेक्निकल कॉम्पिटेंस. गवर्नमेंट जो अपॉइंट करेगा एक लाइक कहीं पे वाटर सेड करने के लिए, तो वहाँ पे सिविल इंजीनियर्स या फिर जो भी वाटर सेड मैनेजमेंट जो कोर्स करते हैं, मतलब हायर स्टडी कर रहे होते हैं, उनको अपॉइंट करेगा, तो वो टेक्निकली बहुत साउंड होंगे. देन हैव ऑफिशियल स्टैंडिंग विथ कम्युनिटी. क्लियर लाइन्स ऑफ अकाउंटेबिलिटी, गवर्नमेंट के तरफ से जो लोग आएंगे काम करने के लिए उनको एक अकाउंटेबिलिटी रहेगा, उनको आंसर देना पड़ेगा टू द हायर अथॉरिटीज ऑफ गवर्नमेंट्स. Then conceptual oriented in top down approach, lack of flexibility, these are certain disadvantage. Like conceptual oriented top down approach होता है, गवर्नमेंट जब कोई भी इनिशिएटिव लेता है वो टॉप डाउन अप्रोच होता है, वो बॉटम अप अप्रोच नहीं होता है. लैक ऑफ फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी वहाँ पे होता है. Emphasis physical and financial target, overload with numerous programs, lack process oriented, watershed development team members live far away in district headquarters, or they do not prefer to live in locality. Then high rate of transfer rate भी हाई होता है. आज कोई है ऑफिशियल, वो काम कर रहा है, आधा काम क्या है दूसरा कोई ऑफिशियल को वहाँ पे अपॉइंट कर देते हैं, इसको ट्रांसफर कर देते हैं. वाटरशेड डेवलपमेंट टीम मेंबर्स ऑफ नॉट फुल टाइम, unable to apply technical knowledge to local circumstances and build on indigenous practices. So these are certain strengths and weakness if we are implementing certain watershed through government or NGOs. The success and sustainability of any watershed development program, whether it is implemented by government or NGOs, or will thus depends on the partnership design for its implementation. Government agencies bring technical expertise and resource and broad coverage, where the NGOs have an expertise in need assessment, promoting and supporting joint action. So गवर्नमेंट एजेंसीज जो होते हैं उनका टेक्निकली दे आर सुपरियर, राइट, बट एनजीओज दे आर सुपरियर इन बॉटम अप अप्रोच, दे आर सुपरियर इन contractual extension activity. So there are certain pros and cons if we see government people and government agencies and NGOs. The preconditions for successful partnership must include. What are the preconditions for successful partnership in watershed implementation? Commitment to multi-agency partnership at the highest level, but shared among the middle and junior government staff. Bottom-up capacity building is very critical for stakeholders. Greater flexibility in government procedures for co-funding with NGOs. Incorporate by each side of the same element of the skill of the other, stakeholder analysis, need assessment, management of project cycle, negotiating capacity, conflict resolution, etc. If they are to communicate adequately about objective, implementation, and outcome. A forum to facilitate communication and collaboration, joint monitoring, progress, and mid-course correction if necessary. So we have to government agencies and NGO, they have to work simultaneously, because they are they are having weakness and strength in different dimension. So they have to work simultaneously to make the project successful, right? A way forward on watershed guideline and implementation. So these are the steps how we can proceed for watershed implementation. First one is village selection, then community participation, planning process, fund disbursement, sustainability of the project, implementation process, equity questions, institutions and watershed development program, capacity building, monitoring and implementation options, watershed development program objective and guideline we have to fix, then exit protocol, right? So these are certain steps. A suggested 8-step approach to watershed planning by North Central Texas Council government. So there are certain watershed approach like 8-step process. Step 1 is identify initial goal and establish the baseline. Step 2 is set up a watershed management structure. Step 3 is determine budgetary resource available and planning. Step 4, project future land use changes in the watershed and its sub watershed. Step 5, fine tune goal for the watershed and its sub watershed. Step 6, develop watershed and sub watershed plans. Step 7, adopt and implement the plan. Step 8, revisit and update the plan. So these are you can see this for implementing a watershed. This is 8-step process by North Central Texas government. So these are certain steps of watershed planning and implementation process, right? So build partnership program, right? Identify stakeholder, identify issue of concern, set goal, develop indicators, conduct public outreach, characterize the watershed, gather existing data, create a watershed inventory, identify data gaps and collect additional data as needed, analyze those data, identify causes and sources of pollution, estimate pollution load, finalize goal and identify solutions, set over goals, develop indicators, target, determine load reduction requirement, identify critical areas, develop management measures. Then in characterization and analysis tool, we can use GIS, statistical packages, monitoring, load calculator, model selection tool, models, database. Then design and implement program, like develop implementation schedule, develop interim milestone track, develop criteria to measure progress, develop monitoring component, develop information education component, develop evaluation process. So then design an implementation program, implement management strategy, conduct monitoring, conduct information education, measure progress, make adjustment, review and evaluate those project time to time. Then share result, prepare annual work plan. So whatever project we are developing, we have to review those projects, right? Then make adjustment to the program. If there is any need, then we have to make some adjustment in that program. Then delineation of watershed, how we can characterize or how we can delineate a watershed. Various stages of delineations are like stage 1, water resource region are segregated under numeric 1 to 6 have been assigned to them. There are 6 water resource region in the country. So delineation means how we are characterizing this watershed, whether that is large or medium, or how we are uh, numbering them, how we are classifying them, right? So watershed, water resource region is a region. So there are 6 water resource region in our country. Each water resource region is then divided into basin. In some of the cases where the drainage systems are too large, basin is divided into lower and upper basin, or left bank or right bank basin. There are total 37 basin in our country. So 6 water resource region, another is 37 basins. Then stage 3 में क्या होता है, 37 basins are further subdivided into catchments, which mostly pertains to main tributaries or a group of contiguous small tributaries or individual stream. There are 117 catchments in our country. Then the next stage of delineation, there are 117 catchments are further divided into 588 sub-catchments. Each sub-catchment has been subjected to further division into number of watersheds. There are 3,851 watersheds, right, of the country. These are considered the smallest hydrological entity on the 1:1000 K scale. So first we have water resource region, that is the larger area. If we see, then water resource region again divided into basins. So we have 37 basins in our country. So from 37 basins we have 117 catchments. From 117 catchments we have 588 subcatchments, and from 588 subcatchments we have 3,851 watersheds. So watershed is the smallest unit in a watershed program. Next, what are the constraints encountered by user group or beneficiary? What are the constraints of watershed encountered by beneficiaries? Some activity not carried out timely. Timely, as you know, government, whatever policies or program we can see, that is, time management is like most constant thing in our implementation. So major constraint is timely they are not implementing the things, unable to control for community work, fear of taking land fear always present there, whether there is a road, construction of road, whether there is construction of canal or watershed, difficulty in maintaining common property resource, difference in wage rate, some work or activity is not useful, improper site selection for some construction work. So these are certain constraints encountered by user group or beneficiaries. Then watershed, if we see benefit to cost ratio, so benefits means around benefit cost ratio lies between 1 to 2 of 67.5% watershed, right? Then it drastically reduced, then 2 to 3 in 13.2. So this BC ratio depends on what are the resources available in that watershed, right? And how people how much they are technically sound, and how they are managing their land and that water available in that watershed. So that indicate the BC ratio of a locality or a watershed. Many watershed projects around the world have not performed well because of the poor community participation. अगर मैं जैसे बार बार बता रहा हूँ कि community participation अगर सही नहीं रहेगा तो फिर watershed will be failure. Then what is our conclusion on watershed? Initially the focus of watershed was productivity enhancement, uh, right, but which is now shifted to watershed management and farming system approach, right. There are different institutions and programs involved in development of guideline of watershed implementation. For effective watershed implementation, there should be demand-driven, transparent approach which must specially focus on resource-limited areas, socially and economical backward community. Okay, always we should look into uh, you know root zone, right? What is the problem in a particular area? Not the middle class family or rich family, they do not face the problem. The problem lies with the poor farmers or poor locality, right? We have to target them only. And sustainability, equity and participation are the three basic elements of participatory watershed management. If we see participatory watershed management, then sustainability, equity and participation of the local community, that is the basis of elementary like participatory watershed management. People participate and collective actions are the prime ingredient for successful implementation of watershed. For successful watershed implementation, people's participation is very much essential. So students, this is all about watershed, watershed components, watershed delineation, watershed management, watershed implementation steps, and uh, whatever we could cover, we covered in this lecture.
So students, this was all about watershed management. We have discussed what a watershed is, what is the different types of watershed on the basis of their sizes, what are the objectives and principles of watershed management, how we can implement a watershed, what are the different watershed management programs, what is participatory watershed management, and all. So we tried to cover almost every aspect of watershed management. If you like this video, you just subscribe to our channel and share this lecture with your other colleagues or your juniors, whoever is preparing for any other agri-competitive exam, right? So stay with us for more informative lectures, and if you have any doubt, you can ask in this comment section, or you may join our Telegram channel, that is Agriculture Q&A, where we are posting different quizzes, we are discussing about different concepts, so you can join there. See you guys in the next lecture. Till then, bye bye, have a great day.